for my quiz, I don't require them to put their emails in. I let them skip that step. And that was something that I changed about halfway through, because why am I gatekeeping for their email address? Like I was either getting fake emails in there by people that didn't want to give me their email address. And if they don't want to give me their email address, they're not a warm lead for me anyway. So why am I even asking for it? So I turn that off and I still get very great results.
Hi guys, and welcome back to Interact's Grow Podcast. So great to be with you as always. I'm your host, Jasmine Solana, and with us this week we have a very special guest, Dawn Richardson from Tech Savvy Creative. Dawn, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so glad to be here and so good to see you lovely ladies. We had fun in Dallas a couple months ago, but it's always good to see your faces again.
Yeah, I love that we're getting a lot of the people that we met at this conference onto the show because we just all had such a good time together that we were like, okay, come on, episode, let's go. So, Dawn, can you tell us a little bit more about you and your business and what you do before we dive into your quiz today?
Sure. So I'm Dawn Richardson, and I am a former software engineer that became a wedding photographer. And after about 8 years in the wedding industry, I pivoted back to the world of technology, and I helped other creative entrepreneurs with the tech in their business. And I do that at Tech Savvy Creative. So Tech Savvy Creative, I'm really passionate about showing people that technology is not intimidating, that it can be really fun and really easy to use, and it can be a game changer in your business. And that's my goal for all of the education, content, speaking opportunities, and all of that good stuff that I put out there. Also, I am the newest product marketing manager at Flodesk. So my career has pivoted just even a little bit more. So I'm back into the world of tech once again, but working with a tool that I love dearly and I have used since they started back in 2019. So that's a little bit about me. I'm a mom of 2 little girls. They are 5 years old and 2. So life here is pretty busy, and I'm in the San Antonio area.
I love
Dawn,
that.
I'm curious because you said you started as a software engineer. The tech that you're teaching people at Tech Savvy, is it coding or is it all no code? Like what sort of technology are you working with people on?
So the technology that we talk about at Tech Savvy is not coding related at all. It's completely different. We're talking about doing the basic things like automating certain parts of your businesses, using tools like Interact, using tools like Flodesk to systematize, streamline, and to bring in leads into your business. Another big part of things that I talk about is like keeping your computer running well. So I actually have a history of working at Apple. So I worked at Apple way back in the iPhone 4 days. So it's been a long time. The very first iPad and iPhone 4 was when I was at Apple. And I did technical support and training while I was there. So how your computer is running, choosing the right computer for your business, all of that is a really important and big part of Tech Savvy Creative, and just helping you take care of the investment you made. Because when we buy our devices, they are an investment and it can be painful for our bank accounts. So I'm here to teach you how to take care of it, how to keep it running well, and how to make sure that you're purchasing the right one in the first place.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah, I love that because I think we talk a lot about tools all the time, but we never talk about equipment very often. And I know even internally here, most of us started off with MacBooks. And I feel like, Damaris, you were the first one to be like, no, I need to use a PC. And you don't think about it all the time, right? Of like, oh, do I have to use this? And for people who are in this business, like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are like some tools that work better. Like some systems work better maybe on like a MacBook, like if you're editing videos or audio, stuff like that, versus a PC, it might be a little bit different. And even the way some of those tools look when you download them into like a PC versus a Mac, like so different.
Totally. Yeah, I think when it comes to computers and hardware, it's also a personal preference. I think that's going to be your number one factor. Even if something does work better on a Mac, somebody could have a really strong preference to a PC, and that's totally okay. my goal at Tech Savvy, whether it's talking about a tool or whether it's talking about a computer or whatever it might be, is finding the one that works best for you, because the best tool is the one that you use. The best computer is the one that you're going to use. And that is really important. Now, I will kind of give a side caveat though. When I surveyed my audience, over 96% of my audience is using a Mac. So for me, when I'm building my content, everything is Apple based. And we're going to talk about it here in a minute, but this quiz is all about choosing the right Mac for you.
Right. I love that. I remember in our notes, we were talking a little bit about why you chose this as your quiz topic. Can you go a little bit deeper into that? Maybe start off with, why choose this as your quiz topic rather than a lot of the other lead generating quizzes we see out there are so focused on like the business as a whole, or like your marketing funnel or ads or what have you. But this kind of goes, starts at the beginning of like, okay, well, what computer should you even have for your business?
Yes. So my quiz was actually a result of me having a problem. Me as a business owner with Tech Savvy Creative, my problem at the time was that I was getting so many DMs asking the same question over and over and over again. And like it happened like 3 or 4 times a day where somebody was like, "Hey, I'm at the Apple store and I have no idea what to buy," or they're like, "My computer is running slow. Like, why?" Or like these questions, and a lot of times it had to do with their hardware. So I was constantly asking the same things. Okay, like, okay, what specs do you have now? What do you do for a living? Oh, you're trying to do that on that computer? No wonder you're having a hard time. Like we were having these like conversations over and over again. So I really wanted to create a system to help answer this question for me. And that's when I learned about Interact. And that's when I started to build that quiz. Now, that quiz is massive. I don't know if you guys have seen the back end of that quiz, but it has 12 different results and it has a web of all these questions. It is huge. And it took a long time for me to kind of map it out and figure it out. But the result is very straightforward. If you are this type of creative, you use this type of tool, you're going to need this computer with this upgrade and so on. Like it's very specific. And then there's also questions in there that help segment my audience. So I have Interact connected directly with a Flodesk integration, which is my email marketing provider. So whenever somebody answers and says that they are a photographer, I mark them as a photographer inside of Flodesk. So whenever I have photography specific content coming up, I can let them know in my email marketing. I also have courses that are specific to photographers. So when I'm running a sale on that, I'll reach out to them in that same way. But this quiz allows me to get to know my audience better while also providing them a ton of value because they get the answer to their question in just a few clicks.
I love that. Remind me.
Could you even
go ahead?
I was just going to ask, could you even put a number to how many minutes to hours to years of time you've saved in automating that through a system or through the quiz with integrated with Flodesk?
Oh my gosh. I was probably spending a couple hours a day in my DMs answering questions. So that over the course of Tech Savvy's been around for 4 years. And that was like one of the very first things that people would ask me were like computer questions. So hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours, days, weeks of time saved. And it's really great because it's also evergreen. The Macs change, right? Apple has an event and they have a keynote and they announce their new machines. Well, I watch that keynote and I pay attention and I review what's new. And then I just go in and update my quiz with the newer information. And sometimes I do have to rearrange like, hey, maybe this was a great fit for somebody before, but now with this new computer, this one's better. So I'll have to like remap my stuff a little bit. But I'm doing that maybe once or twice a year. Apple doesn't release new computers that often. So it's not something that's a huge pain point for me. But like within hours from Apple announcing a new device, I can have that information there ready to go. And I can say, hey, do you think this Mac is the right one for you? Take my quiz and find out. And then it gets them that information. It gets them into my door so I can segment them and get to know them a little bit better, learn about them and who they are. And then I'm helping them at the same time. And it's a win for everybody.
Love that.
Sure is.
I was going to
That's
ask.
a great. Oh, sorry, Jasmine. Go ahead.
I keep trying to ask questions. I'm so sorry. No, I was going to ask really quickly because you keep saying like mapping, and what came to mind was branching logic. Are you using that in your quiz at all? Okay. I
Yes.
thought so. Really quickly, and Damaris, I'm sorry, you can ask your question after this, but can
Yeah.
you, for our listeners, like, we actually get this question a lot of like, oh, should I be using branching logic? And a lot of times they don't need to use it. But in your case, can you give everybody like a quick sort of, breakdown of how you came about deciding to use branching logic and why it made more sense for your quiz?
Yes. So for my quiz, I have a lot of different results, which is the first reason why this got really complicated really quickly. Because, for example, the MacBook Pro is an answer 6 different times, but there's 6 different models that come up. So different things branch into different purposes, right? So when I built this quiz, it took a while for me to build this quiz because I would create what I thought was correct, and then something would pop up and I'd be like, oh, this is a determining factor of what machine they should get. And then I ended up with a new branch. And then it just kind of got more complicated and things like that. Now, a lot of times I'm asking the same question regardless of what branch they are in. But for me, this was not a personality driven quiz. Like, I'm not adding a score. I needed very specifically to say, if this person says that they are a photographer, I can tell you out the gate that they're going to have a certain type of machine simply because they said they're a photographer. Now, I might ask them a couple more questions just to segment them further for my own information and to make the quiz more than one question. But I know pretty quickly what machine I'm going to recommend simply because I know what type of tools that industry uses. If somebody comes to me and says they're a video producer, that's another example of somebody that's going to require a computer that's a little bit more upgraded than a normal user. But if I have somebody that says that they only use their computer for email, we have a lot more options. And things kind of funnel down. I ask them a couple more questions to get to know them. Like, are they really just using email? Are they actually editing videos on the side too? Asking those questions to make sure I'm giving them the correct answer. And also, when I do give them the answer, I redirect them to a web page. And on that web page, it does have a couple snippets that are like, hey, if you like, this is the answer I gave you, but this would also work for you if you have the budget for it. And it would be like a better model. Or it would be the MacBook Pro instead of a MacBook Air. So I give them those options to help them make a decision, and then they can decide. Because if they're somebody that got MacBook Air as their result, but they really wanted that MacBook Pro, I want them to know that that's totally okay also. I just want to let them know that this is what is required of your machine for you to do your job well. So back to branching logic. I use a lot of branching logic because it's very important that specific answers to those questions go to specific results, and making sure that that aligns to their correct result, regardless if they're looking at a desktop computer or a laptop as well.
I love that. Thank you. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
I'm
and that
sorry.
makes
Go
sense.
ahead.
I think it makes it more specific to like that person's needs, because you're just really narrowing down. Like, this is what you said. This is what you need. This is what
Right.
you need. And you're just going on it further.
For example, the very first question I ask is, do you want a desktop or a laptop? Right. So right there, that's a branch. So I know right away if we're talking about the desktop models or if we're talking about the laptop models. I don't want somebody who said desktop to end up with a MacBook Pro. It's very important. So those branches are very specific, and I build them out to follow down that line based off of the answers to their questions.
Do people still have desktops? Wow.
They do. Yes.
That
I'm
is
actually
insane.
using one right now.
Are you? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
They do. They're more powerful, more bang for your buck. So like
Yes.
I can get a Mac Studio and have that there for about half the price of a MacBook Pro that's upgraded for me. So a lot of people are still using it. A lot of people, especially in the creative industry, have like a studio space where maybe they do their editing in their studio, and then on the go they do something different. So some people have both, some people have one, some people have the other, but yeah, I would say the majority of my results are like a laptop based. I would say probably 75% or so, but there are some out there. And there's also a lot of people that take my quiz more than once. Like they'll do it once for the desktop version, and then they'll go back and then they'll do it for the laptop version. I can see them pop in there like 3 or 4 times, or they go in and they try to answer a question differently to see if it changes their answer. But a lot of times there's like one question that's very specifically sending them to a certain result.
Yeah, like out of
Yeah.
curiosity, if
Mhm.
somebody says they travel often, that automatically means laptop, right? But what if they do need more power, like a desktop?
You can upgrade a laptop to have the power. So, like the one
Okay.
I'm using right here, like
Yeah.
I replaced my desktop with this one. It's a beefy machine. I spent a lot of money on it, but I invested in it because I'm going to be using it for the next 5 years. But if I invested in a cheaper model, I would be replacing it in just a couple years because it wouldn't be able to do what I needed to do. And
Right.
that's like a really important part. People have a really hard time upgrading their machines because they don't want to
Mhm.
spend the money, but then they find themselves having to buy a new machine sooner because they hit those roadblocks faster. And that's a big bummer for a lot of people. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize that until they're too late and they're in the situation where they need to invest in another machine in order to do their job well.
Yeah.
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 Can you quickly go over like how your quiz fits into your funnel, like the rest of your funnel? Like where does it sit? Is it like the top middle? Is it mostly just to answer those questions in the DMs? Like where does it go?
So it lives in a couple of places. It does live on my website on my homepage. It's just under the fold. So when you're scrolling, it says like what Mac is right for you. Take the quiz. It has like a cute little picture of like an iMac and a laptop next to it. It's all like tech savvy branded. So it is on my website, but I do get a lot of interaction from a couple of pinned Facebook, or sorry, not Facebook, a couple of pinned Instagram posts that I have. One of them is the Mac quiz, and I have a ManyChat automation set to it. If you type in the word quiz, I will send you a DM with a link to the quiz. So that's there. I do have it floating out there on Pinterest. So, I mean, I'm still getting a couple of hits a month or a couple of hundred hits a month to it. So people are finding it wherever they're finding it.
Yeah.
But it's
That's
just a couple of different places. And then whenever somebody has a question about it, I automatically send them that link to my quiz. It's same with the Facebook group. If somebody is in a Facebook group and they're asking questions about what computer should they buy or why isn't my computer working, what is going on, I can send them links to my resources to get them through that quiz and help them understand why their machine's not working for them or what they need to purchase when they are going to invest in a new computer.
And does it go beyond the quiz result? Do they go on like a email workflow? How does that part work?
So right now they don't have an email workflow. I send them like a follow-up like, hey, is everything good? And I also send them the result via email. So they don't have to take the quiz again to get back to that page if they accidentally closed out of it. I do send them the result. And again, I send them to a web page, and that web page is a huge page full of a ton of different information and resources. It talks about their answer, but it also talks about why they got this answer. And then it talks about why these upgrades and why this machine is important to what they do. So it's very specific to the answers that they have given me. And then we also talk about things like, is now a good time to buy? Or is, like that's always a thing. Like everybody's afraid, like if I buy this iPhone now, is a new one going to come out tomorrow? And basically giving them resources to find out, like to understand Apple's like patterns in their release cycles. So like for me, I'm not normally buying a new MacBook Pro in October because Apple tends to release newer computers in the fall timeframe for the MacBook Pro series. So I basically say like, now is an okay time, or now is not a good time, or now is a great time to buy. So I explain different things like that. But as for the emails, I don't send them through anything crazy. Just a simple, here is your result email. Here is that page if you want to access it again. And then because I do have them segmented based on their results, when Apple does release something new, if they have been marked as somebody that got that answer, I can send them an email and say, hey, you got the result for a MacBook Air. Well, guess what? Apple just released new ones. So if you're still in the market, now is a really great time to buy. And again, my goal is to be their resource, to be somebody that they can trust and they can come to and they feel confident with their technology around. So I want to provide them with the best advice possible. And that's how I do that.
Love
I'm
it.
curious to know, like, have you found that by being so transparent with just giving them all this information and all this knowledge on like, this is what you need, this is what you can get, you're not really like offering your services or trying to be salesy. have you found that by doing that, you actually do get people like, hey, can you just do this for me? Or can you just help me like figure this out
Yeah.
and I'll just like pay you to do this? Like,
I feel like trust is a huge factor in my business, especially I'm somebody that offers coaching. I offer online courses. Giving them tangible advice up front that's going to help them. Like going through the quiz is something that is very helpful. They're not going to be pitched to a webinar or whatever. It's very straightforward. Here's your answer. I'm building that trust. And I do see some of those people come back and say, hey, can I book you for a Voxer coaching day? Excuse me.
you're good.
Can I book you for a Voxer coaching day where I have like one-on-one walkie-talkie access with them? And maybe they are going to the Apple store to buy the machine. They just wanted somebody to bounce ideas off of. Or they got their new computer and they want help setting it up and transferring all of their old information to their new computer. I have done coaching calls to do that. I have done coaching calls to help people organize and clean up their current computers because it's not running the way that they want it to. I also get those coaching calls of, hey, Dawn, I heard that you recommend the MacBook Pro for me, but it's not in my budget right now. What can I do to my current computer to make it last another 6 months? Right? Having those kind of conversations. So that trust that I've been building through this quiz results in conversations like that. It results in loyal customers. It results in people that want to buy my courses, that want to spend one-on-one time with me in a coaching setting. And all that to say is it has not hurt me in any way to share that information with anybody.
No, and I love that because I think that we are aligned in that way here at Interact. Like we really just try to share as much information as we can. And because of that, I think it does create trust and it creates sort of like that honest sort of platform. Like, yeah, what do you need? How can we help you? And you know, and it does. So I'm just, it validates, you know, that it works. So great to hear.
Another, I mean, point to add on to that is for my quiz, I don't require them to put their emails in. I let them skip that step. And that was something that I changed about halfway through because why am I gatekeeping for their email address? Like I was either getting fake emails in there by people that didn't want to give me their email address. And if they don't want to give me their email address, they're not a warm lead for me anyway. So why am I even asking for it? So I turn that off and I still get very great results. And even if that person didn't give me their email, that doesn't mean that I didn't create a trust connection with that person and by giving them the result of the quiz. So same thing applies. I don't require, so whoever's listening to this, you can go take the quiz and not give me your email. It's totally fine. But you having the information to make an educated decision for what computer is right for you and your business is what matters to me. And if I am doing a good job, then I'll see you when you want to do a coaching call or if you have more questions down the line. And that's what I'm here for.
This is such a controversial topic. I feel like this opt-in form, this optional opt-in form.
It is. And it was kind of scary to turn it on. At first I was like, no, if they want my information, they must give me their email. But then people would give me fake emails. Like it's not hard to get around it. And I would rather have a better experience for the people using it than to force that email. And it has not hurt my conversion in any way.
Talking about time saving too, it probably saves a ton of time from weeding out the spammers or the people who don't have the budgets or don't have the businesses that they actually need the equipment yet. Maybe they were just poking around or they found it for some other reason. So I really like that.
Or I don't get the same person 6 times.
Yeah, right. Do you, Dawn, include any like affiliate links on those result pages? So even if they don't give you their email, there's still a benefit for you giving that information away outside of all the benefits your audience gets by taking it.
Totally. So for example, one of my results pages is specific to the photographer. So I'm a former wedding photographer. I have courses for photographers. So the photography industry is very familiar and comfortable for me. So on my landing page for photographers, I go in a little bit into my courses that I offer about file management for photographers. But also, like you said, I do have some affiliate links on there. When you are a member of Like to Know It, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Like to Know It. So not only do they do clothes, but they have Apple on there, and there is an affiliate commission with Apple. Now, I will say it's only happened maybe 3 times that somebody has actually purchased a computer directly from that link. But when
Okay.
I do, it's a nice couple $100 of affiliate commission. So it has definitely paid for my Interact subscription over the past couple of years, which has been wonderful. But I'm not promoting it anyway. I'm not trying to be like, you have to use this link. But if every once in a while I do get somebody that did purchase from that link, and that's just really nice, a nice little bonus. I also have links on those pages to things like other resources that I offer. And those resources page have a lot of other affiliate links that I promote for tools that I use, for tools that I recommend. Hard drive, external hard drive, drives for backing up, computer accessories, my favorite webcam that I use. All of those little things are all affiliate links in various places on my website that I link to from there. So yes, there is affiliate opportunity, but is it my priority? No, but it does come in every once in a while, and that's really nice.
I do feel like, though, this is a really good example of, kind of starting simpler, and then you give them all these options to where you could have extra income, even if, like you're not looking for it, it's still there. I think a lot of times when people are, writing up the copy for their quiz, or they're ready to get started with their quiz, they feel like, well, I want to make sure this gives me some sort of stream of income, so I have to include everything I know into this quiz. But it tends to overwhelm people, so they may not take that quiz because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fine balance. And I will be the first to admit that this has gone through many iterations. Like, that page has changed many times. Sometimes I'll add things, sometimes I'll remove things. Oh, it's Black Friday. I might add more touch points to other people doing amazing things during Black Friday to support other businesses that have some type of affiliate revenue to them, things like that. But it's all an experiment. Like, nothing is permanent. Everything that we do in business is an experiment. Quizzes are an experiment, where they go to, how we segment them after, what we do with them, how do we monetize them. They're all just different ways to connect with our audience and really be a valuable resource to them.
I love that. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Beautifully said.
Do you have any last minute questions before we close out? Jackie Damaris?
I do have something to say, but I don't know if I want to say it, but I'm going to say it now that we're talking about this.
Okay.
Dawn, my partnerships brain is going over here because I'm starting to think I don't even want to go check Apple's site when it comes time to looking for a new tech, a new computer, the cleanup that you're talking about. I'm like, oh my God, Dawn, maybe we need to book a call because the files on my laptop have existed since the day I've started at Interact. I am terrible at cleaning up the cookies and the files and all of that. So I guess what I'm getting at is, I just want to say this first. I would prefer to just start with your quiz to get this level of information. As trustworthy as Apple as a software company and as a product is, it just feels easier to go through your quiz to get started. The partnership brain question that I'm having is, would you ever sell this quiz or work with Apple on offering this quiz? I don't think they have anything like that gives them that gives a user such an easy direct route to purchasing a product where you do. So I don't even know if that's a question. It's not to sell the quiz, but there's a partnership there in the works.
Let me say it. This is from my experience working from Apple, when I was there. Apple does an amazing job training the specialists. So anybody on the floor I would trust.
Okay.
The only difference between myself and one of the specialists that are in that store is they may not be a photographer. They may not be managing terabytes and terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of data like photographers and videographers and other creative professionals do. So that's the difference. This is my day-to-day. This is how I've managed it. This is how this machine in front of me has done these things for me, and I can speak to that. Now, the person in the stores is going to be really great. They are excellent, and they're also trained to not oversell you on something unless you need to have that upgrade. However, as somebody that has used these machines for creative purposes and video content and 4K video and photo editing and weddings and all that stuff, I lean into the camp of I would rather be safe than sorry, because I don't want to buy a new one of these every year. So that's going to be my difference, because I have had a couple people that said that they've gone into a store and they recommended something lower, and that's fine. But I'm of the camp again of I want this machine to last me 5 years. I want to invest in something that I know is going to last me and is going to be able to handle my workload. So all that to say, the people at Apple are wonderful. I would trust what a specialist says, but I would also keep in mind that that specialist doesn't do what you do every single day. And that's kind of where I stand out a little bit. Would I sell this to Apple? Maybe. I'd never say never. So I think the same thing, Flodesk asked me if I would ever work for somebody again. And my answer was, I'll never say never. And here I am. So I'm always open to conversations. I like to approach things with an open mind and curiosity. So if that was a question, if Apple emailed me today and asked me, I would definitely have a conversation. So yeah.
I love the point that you make, though, about we trust you because, or we know we can trust you with this information because you do something very similar to what we do. You get us. Mm-hmm. I know that you get me and the work that I do, where I really like that point. If I just went into the Apple store, they're great. The representatives are great. I've even seen trainings in the store, but anybody could walk in, a student that just needs to write essays versus a photographer who's storing terabytes. What did you call them?
Terabytes.
I told you there's a lot of data over on this computer. I don't even know how much space I'm using.
I mean, for my photography business, for context, I have about 70 terabytes of photos, just raw photos, over the last 8 years of my photography business. Like, that is not a number that your computer can be upgraded to. Like, this involves like external hard drives and all of that good stuff. But most users that walk into a store, or most users period, are not using that kind of data. And that amount of data. And that's where conversations and the tools that we're using and why this matters is really important.
Great point. Great point.
I love that. Great question. Great question, because somebody might be listening and be like, couldn't I just go into the store?
But I was you were talking.
I mean, you can't. They're all great. Like I was a specialist too back in the day. I was there when you held the phone and like your service stopped. I don't know if you guys remember that. You guys remember that?
No.
When the service stopped, like in the store?
No, like, so they had an issue where if you held the phone like on the antenna, because the antenna was the outside of the phone,
isn't
it
that
like
why they had like bumpers or something?
They had the bumpers.
Yeah,
that was when I was at Apple. And you might want to cut this whole part out, but that was when I was at Apple. So if you want to learn about customer service, live through an era like that. That was a joy.
Different time.
You're just holding it wrong.
It's so funny because
holds their phone like that?
It's not us.
I know
it's
we have to end, but I just want to say, from like a person that does not use a Mac, and all of you use Macs, like even me, when I was trying to even learn a Mac, it was very overwhelming for me. I was like, this is not what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to what I know. So thinking of like, as a consumer, if at somebody like you just tell me what to do and how to do it, I think it would be so much easier, because I would not know. Like if I go to an Apple store, I know how to tell them stuff about my iPhone and my iWatch, but computers, I'll be like, I'm just gonna go use the HP. Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about.
And that's okay. If you use it, that's what matters, right?
Yeah, but back to your point with the resources and the things that you're giving out, like it probably would make my life a lot easier, because I don't have to go in and try to find out what to ask to know what I need, like, I don't know. It's just...
Yeah. And every once in a while, I'll get a DM of somebody that is in your situation where they don't want a Mac. And I have been out of the PC realm for a long time, but computer hardware, it can be similar. So like, let's have conversations. Let's look at the requirements for certain software for PCs and have that conversation. And again, just really make sure that they have the resources they need to make the right decision. The last thing that you need to do as a business owner is invest $3,000 into the wrong computer. And that's what I'm here to make sure that you don't do. I'd rather you invest that $3,000 with me than a bad computer. But I want you to have the right computer for you. And so you're not frustrated all the time. And because it takes time, it takes money. Like as a business owner, time is money. Yeah. So if I'm sitting there watching my beach ball spin all day because I bought the wrong computer and I'm trying to run software on it that it's not meant to run, I'm losing time. But if I spend that money up front, I can get my work done the first time. I can get it done quickly and move on to the next thing. And that's what matters.
And I also think, Dawn, along those lines, because I remember Josh, when I first started to interact, was like, it was like 2 weeks I was in, right? And there he's like, how's it going? I'm like, the hardest thing I'm doing right now is learning how to use a Mac. Like, where are the buttons? Where do I click? It's so hard. But, and I'm not a photographer, so I'm sure this is much more of a reason to focus on this for them. But it's, if you're struggling so hard on the wrong equipment and just a little learning curve or like language barrier of tech, right, just needs to be overcome. The system, which is everything that Tech Savvy does, the system can also save you so much time, even if you just have to stop and, take a week or two, maybe a month to really learn what that new system might be.
Absolutely. And then how to take care of it, right?
Yeah, I'm coming at you, girl. We got it.
I'm big. Don't let me catch you with your software updates pending. Go update your software.
What's this up when Dawn comes? Close my laptop.
Clear off your desktops. Update your software, guys. Here I come.
Well, Dawn, thank you so much for telling us about your quiz and your business, and congratulations again on your new role.
Thank you.
Can people find you online if they're looking?
Sure. So I spend most of my time on Instagram at Tech Savvy Creative. You can also find me at techsavvycreative.com. And you can find my quiz at techsavvycreative.com/quiz if you want to go take that and check it out for yourself. You can also find me on YouTube, which is a pretty new thing for us, but we're testing it out and seeing how it works. And you can find us at Tech Savvy Creative on YouTube.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And we will link that for you guys in the show notes. That way you have quick access to it. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
So great to see you again, Dawn.
Bye.